Now, why do we who are more with this subject than others, why are we in a position where we don't have the joy all the time with no sorrow? Why, after having been with this subject and following the great masters, why can't we get that thing we are looking for? What is wrong? Well, I believe if you look into it, you will discover that there's only one thing wrong. Only one thing. Our wanting this growth is not as strong as our wanting this world, as our wanting ego approval. Therefore, I try to be as practical as can be by presenting you with methods that you can use every day to grow by. There is no moment in life that cannot be used as an opportunity for growth. There is no moment in life that cannot be used as an opportunity for growth. Now, the only growth, and I'm underlining this word only, the only growth is letting go of ego. When the ego is zero, God is all. If we are not finding enough of God or enough of happiness, it's only because we are holding on to our ego desires. So I think at each meeting I'll present one particular method that we can use in everyday life to help us let go of our ego. I think today I would like to say this. As you see the world, so are you. Now I'm taking off on, as a man believeth in his heart, so is he, which is correct. But I say this is a much more advanced way of looking at it. As you see the world, so are you. Now, every day when we get up and open our eyes, we start looking at the world. We meet people. And as we see those people, so are we. It is impossible to see a fault in anyone else that we don't have in ourselves. If the fault is not in us, it's impossible to see it out there in anyone else. It's almost the same as, in order to understand Greek, you must know Greek. Anything we understand out there, we know within. So every time we see something out there that we do not like, a person who is doing something that we don't like, and it bothers us, it is only because that very same thing is in us. Now, this is a powerful method of growth, because most of us, unfortunately, see things that are wrong in this world. When a master looks at the world, he sees nothing but perfection. We should try to get the same viewpoint. If we will hold on to just this one thing, there will be a tremendous growth. Every time you see something wrong in someone, look for it in yourself. And when you see it, let go of it. Keep letting go. And every time you let go of it, you're letting go of a bit of ego. The whole thing is very simple. Thou art that, here and now. Remove the covering of the ego. Let go of the ego. And when the ego is completely gone, the only thing left is the infinite self. Where the ego rises not, there is the self. So in everyday life, as we meet people, situations, every time we see something we don't like, we should turn within, see it within ourselves, let go of it. Now this will not clear us in one day or 1 week, because there's an awful lot to be cleared. We have developed through many lifetimes ego attachments and desires. And they don't go in 1 or 2 days. When we start letting go of the ego, it appears sometimes as though the ego is getting stronger and stronger and bigger. That's not true. It'll never get any bigger than it is right now. What happens is that as we let go of it, more of it presents itself to us. We are looking at it more, and it appears sometimes as though the ego is getting bigger. Actually, we're just facing up to more of it that was there all the time. Looking away from ego does not dissolve it. It just remains there until the time comes that we are forced to let go of it. So daily, right through the entire day, if we will just look at the world and realize that we are seeing it through our own eyes, through our own consciousness, through our own understanding, that what we see out there is nothing but ourselves, this can affect a rapid positive growth that will show results immediately. The first week you'll feel better. And as you keep doing this, you'll get lighter and lighter and lighter. Happiness will get more and more and more. Sorrow will get less and less. But the main warning I give you is don't expect it overnight. And if the ego appears to loom up larger, it's only because you're facing it, whereas before you were looking away from it. Nancy just asked, well, how do you do it? Well, you see someone out there who's trying to be the life of the party, the number one. You don't like it. I'm taking a very obvious thing. If we don't like the other one trying to be the number one, it's only because we want to be the number one. All right, so what do? You have to go within and look for it and stay with it until you see it. If you will go within, meditate on it, quiet your mind, the answer will always come. You will see, why yes, I too want to be the number one. And I was resentful because the other one was trying to be the number one. And then when you see that you want to be the number one, say to yourself, this I must let go of, with a wish to let go. And just by the wish to let go, you are letting go of a bit of ego. There are no better lessons than those we get from our family. You'll find family the best means of growing. And the main reason for that is that we choose our parents, and we choose parents who have similar characteristics to our own. And so there's always a to and fro between parent and child because of this. Parents are telling the children what to do, and the children are fighting right back, up and back, all the time. Most of the time, that parent and child are together. There's a constant to and fro on the thing we're talking about. Because we have it in ourselves, we see it in our parent, or we see it in our child. And they see it in us, which causes quite a lot of friction. Now, there can be the opposite relationship, too. We can have an ego lift if our parent has the things that we like. If parent and child are together on something that they both agree on, then there's an elation, a support of the ego going on all the time. That's possible also. Now, ego, the same way it goes down on rebuff, goes up on praise. So we should look for it two ways. Now remember, anything that can be lifted by words of praise can be as quickly dropped by the opposite words. And the state that we want to attain to is one of equanimity, where we are always happy, where our happiness does not depend upon things and people outside of ourselves. The real happiness with a capital H is our natural state and is independent of people and things. Anytime it's dependent upon anything outside of ourselves, it's an ego pleasure which must necessarily have an ego pain after it. And yet all joy that we feel in this world is only the feeling of the self, more or less. Even though we attribute it to someone or something outside, that feeling of joy that we feel is nothing but the self. And so I say all joy that we feel has its source in the self. And all misery that we feel has its source in the ego.